Hello and welcome to another First Chesapeake Chat. I'm Abby Henshaw alongside Mariah Bolden, both First Chesapeake alumni and alumni ambassadors, sponsored by Bose Allen Hamilton. I'm here to introduce us. I would like to thank this session's sponsor, Newport News Shipbuilding, for making this chat possible. Just some housekeeping, we'll let the speakers present and then open up for discussion questions later on if there's time. But feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat and we'll try to get to them all. Our speakers for this session are Abigail Stark, who is a regulatory affairs specialist with Polaris Inc. and an alumni of FRC Team 2199. And we have Jessica Tai, who designs and develops biomedical electromagnetic devices. Hello.
Hi, thanks so much for having us. We're so excited to be here today.
Hello.
Hi. So you gave some you guys did a great job giving us our introduction, and a couple more interesting factoids is Jessica and I both live in the city of Minneapolis, and we both went to the same college and graduated with the same degree. So we're here to, talk about our jobs and our education and, give a little insight into all the interesting things you can do with a background in engineering.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. Actually, Abby and I have the same number of degrees, minors, and certificates right now. So
right, we're basically
twins. But we have very different jobs, so it's pretty cool.
Right. So, Jess, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do for work?
Yeah, so I work in the medical device industry, so I make micro-medical EM medical devices. So mostly I do a lot of work with electromagnetic sensors, and then we put those into, cardio ablation mapping catheters, and bronchoscopy, forceps and brushes, and then cytology needles. So I can explain that a little bit better if you guys aren't familiar with that. It's probably not something everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, I'm not a specialist, so.
Okay. Okay. So cardiac ablation mapping catheter is for an ablation procedure where part of your heart stopped working correctly. So I've recently, in the last year, helped to design a mapping catheter. So before they can go in and ablate your heart, they first have to actually map out where the region of your heart that they need to do the ablation at. So that's what I helped design. And so the design that we ended up coming up with was very new in that we used micro EM sensors. So you need a field generator next to where you're working. And you turn the field generator on and it'll tell you where you're exactly mapping out. So it's pretty new overall in its field. And so that's pretty much what we do. It's definitely like a niche field, but it's becoming more popular the more that we discover that coils actually work. So think like Tesla coils, the really large ones, and then shrink them down so you need a microscope to see them. So that's what I help make.
That's pretty hardcore. That's nifty. So that's interesting because, I'm sorry. Did you have another comment?
No, I was just saying, so that's pretty much what I do. So take that technology and put it in like forceps that we use to take tissue samples out of your lungs, or like cytology needles, or, where they take micro samples just from any area of your tissue, and then they study that, and that's how they help determine if you have cancer or if you have, some sort of disease on the cellular level. So that's what we do. Well, I do.
That's really cool. That's really impressive. So, we have the same degree, industrial engineering and engineering management, and it seems like your work is very technical, while I sort of went the other way and my work is not nearly as technical. So I am a regulatory affairs specialist for Polaris. We are a Fortune 500 power sports company. So we make snowmobiles, we own Indian motorcycles, we make a lot of boats and pontoons, razors, rangers, generals, a lot of power sports, basically. So what I do is I work with our domestic teams and our international teams to make sure that we are capturing all information required for lots of different government reporting streams. So, part of this job is very tactical. So it's making sure that we're reporting all the information required to the government. And then the other part of the job is very strategic. So helping to roll our subsidiaries into our corporate reporting structures, helping make sure that we are aligned with our international organizations to make sure that we have the most streamlined reporting process possible. So I work a lot with a lot of different groups across the world and domestically to make sure that we are fulfilling our government reporting obligations in the best and most efficient way possible.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that's all very interesting. So you mentioned that you both have the same undergrad degree, and I think you said industrial engineering. Do you guys want to sort of tell us a bit about how you sort of decided to major in engineering, what that sort of journey was like for you as college undergrads?
Sure. So I can go first and just give my very quick story. So I knew that, well, of course, I was involved in first. So I was attracted to the STEM fields. I thought that it was really interesting. The work was interesting, and I knew I wanted to go into engineering, but I wasn't sure what type. So industrial engineering was described to me as being the marriage of engineering, business, and psychology. And there's a lot of different things you can do with industrial engineering. As you can see, Jess and I, same degree, same school, extremely different career paths. Industrial engineering can work in manufacturing, R&D, just like what Jess does. You can do systems engineering, do the ergonomics, the softer side of engineering. So that's what attracted me to this major, and what attracted me to the school our alma mater, the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, was the fact that if you graduated with a degree in industrial engineering, it was technically dual accredited as industrial engineering and engineering management. So it's very much like getting a double major with only, one set of classes. So that was very attractive. So that's why I picked this school for this degree.
Yeah, so I in high school I wasn't like on a robotics team, mostly because I'm from a very small high school and we didn't have a robotics team. But I was a mathlete because and then I also competed actually at the School of Mines for math and science competitions, and so that's how I first got interested in engineering. And then I had a teacher who just got his physics degree from the School of Mines, who really helped kind of push me towards that path. So I lived an hour from there anyway. So I was like, I'll try it and see how it goes. And then, I started out there as an electrical engineering student, but the department was going through a lot of structural changes. And so it wasn't necessarily able to give its students the attention they needed. So I kind of ended up gravitating with some of my friends towards industrial engineering classes, and I really liked them. So I changed my major to that, and I graduated with that degree. So.
She came over to the dark side. We converted her, yeah.
They had a lot of snacks.
We do. We know what people want. See, that's the psychology portion of that triangle I talked about earlier.
Yeah, so you've sort of mentioned how you have the same degree and went into very different fields. How did that sort of post-college, looking for a job, limbo land work out for you guys? You guys want to expand more on how that happened?
Honestly, I think Abby did a great job applying for jobs very early in advance because we were friends, senior year. We were actually in senior design together. And we had a lot of classes and a lot of groups together. And she was, I'm going to do this. And I was like, I know I sort of want to work in this area. So I didn't start applying to jobs until January, and we graduated in May.
Yeah. So I started applying for jobs a year in advance, and it was the October prior to the May that I was graduating, and I had 4 job offers, and I picked the one that I thought fit best with my career goals for the company that I thought would be the best for me. It was, it's a very stressful experience. I won't lie, but it's all about networking. It's making sure that your resume is on point. It's making sure that you have the internship experience to speak, to these employers. It's having the background, the extracurricular and the leadership experience when possible, just to make sure that you're at the top of their list. So yeah, I was extremely fortunate to work for the fantastic company that I do, and so yeah, it worked out. So.
Yeah. So just to add on to that, so I had 2 internships before I graduated. I think Abby also did 2 internships, or she interned for 2 summers, which really helps. And then, like she said, having leadership positions. So, I was a student ambassador. I was a leader for EEE, which is an electrical engineering organization that I just happened to be a part of before I changed majors. And, there's different groups, especially where we went to school, where it was so small that you can hold an office really easily. It's just putting in the effort and going out there and trying. And then also, our school actually had a lot of great resources to even build your resume. So we had recruiters come in who worked for actual companies, like 3M and Polaris and LG. And so I actually got to go into that career fair, or that resume building fair, and I sat with them, and they looked over my resume, and they really helped me build a resume. So when I applied to jobs, I actually got interviews for every job I applied to. So that was really helpful too.
Yeah, so a lot of it's preparation. It's not like when you sit down to write your resume, that's the deciding factor. It's not. It's really what all of the work and experience and leadership opportunities that you've taken advantage of throughout your college career that really set you up for success at the end.
I agree with that. I think also adding to that a little bit is you need to remember why you went to college. Part of it's for fun, and you want to have experiences, and you want to meet new people, and you want to try new things. But I think it's the trying new things that you have to keep doing to add to your resume, because you do want to get a good job. And so trying new things is great, but because of those new things, you want to keep building on that and adding those like leadership and doing those weekend volunteer trips and things like that really give you something to talk about.
Yeah, so you guys both mentioned internships, and I know as a college freshman myself, internships seem very daunting to me right now. Do you have any advice as sort of like the looking for internships, applying, that whole process?
Yeah, apply. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just going to say, I'm actually hiring for interns right now, so I think I have a little bit of experience with this because I know what I'm looking for. So the big thing is really make sure that you're doing something. I get a lot of people who are applying, and I don't typically look at anybody who's hasn't at least completed their sophomore year. So I would say as a freshman, you do have a little bit of time, but make sure you're out there doing stuff. Join a volunteer group, get some leadership positions, tutor other people. I get a lot of resumes that just have, a GPA on them and the classes they took. And I'm like, that's great, but I don't see you doing anything else. And so that doesn't really make me want to try. Also, if your school has like research positions or you can help with that in any way, taking a part of like being a researcher or being a TA or anything in like labs where you can help do that extra stuff, that'll really set you apart.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo that. And just if you don't have prior experience for an internship, make sure that you're getting prior experience in something, right? Clubs, volunteer, research, whatever, to bolster your part-time jobs, to bolster your resume. Also, one thing I will say about resumes in general, because I reviewed a lot this past summer as well, is that remember who will be reviewing your resume and sell yourself to them. Because odds are, if you're in an engineering position or an engineering major, your resume is going to be reviewed by engineers. So what do engineers like? Short and succinct. They want statistics, they want numbers, they want, dollar signs, really hard facts in your resume. So just one quick thing to just keep away for later.
No, I would agree with that. I get a lot of resumes where I've just got, very chunky blocks of text. Yeah. And as an engineer, I'm also a very busy person. We all are. I work crazy hours some weeks. I don't want to sit there and read a whole block of words. And if it's too much, then I just kind of skim through it. I'm like, yeah, this was a lot of effort. I'm not going to finish this one and I'm going to move on. So, yeah. That sounds really harsh, but when you get a lot of resumes, yeah, you got to keep it short and sweet, but make sure that what you're putting in there is the important stuff. And I agree with Abby. You don't have to have prior internship experience to get an internship. That's how we all started, right? But you do need to do something. You need to be active. You need to be out there trying to help other people. You got to show us that you want to do something.
Yeah, so you've both really emphasized sort of like doing things in college. Do you have any, like, were there any clubs or things that you did in college that like taught you a ton and you're super glad you did?
So I don't know if this came from a particular club, but the soft skills. I mean, no, to be a engineer, and competitive, today you have to have both the technical skills and the soft skills, right? That's being able to work with teams, it's being able to work with others, being able to prioritize, conflict management, communicate effectively. And those are all things that, are taught sometimes in the classroom, but are mostly just from interactions, right, with others and every day, and especially through those club interactions. So that I really valued. Yeah, that's probably what I took away most from my club experiences.
I would agree with that. I mean, being a female, I don't know what your majors are, but as a female engineering student, there were a lot of clubs open to us. There's SWE, there's WISE. So I took part of SWE. It was fun. Also, they had great snacks. Again, you can get me anywhere if you offer me cookies, not gonna lie. So, that. Sorry, guys, my dog's being really weird right now. So sweet. And then, your major will likely have their own club. So when I was an electrical engineering student, we had Triple E. So it was just I was IEEE. So, I joined that. And then I was also a student ambassador. Schools are always like, if it's a school sponsored thing, they're always looking for new members. They always need people. So I would say it's pretty easy to find clubs to join. It's just, going out and doing that.
Yeah.
There's always volunteer groups. They'll take anybody. And they also have snacks.
Yeah, so you mentioned.
No, side note, I just saw this comment here. The position accuracy of a sensor is 5 millimeters or less.
There we go. Right. You mentioned SWE, and I just sort of wanted to ask, as a fellow woman in STEM, about that sort of experience. Obviously, it can be hard. Do you have any advice to other girls who want to pursue engineering or just the STEM field in general?
Learn how to say no. Learn how to stick up for yourself. I mean,
you can say no, and it's absolutely not being rude, no matter what someone says.
Yeah, absolutely. Just learn how to speak up and stick up for yourself. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So
I would argue, even being a female engineer, there are many times where I'm the only female in the room, and it's saying no and learning how to stand up for yourself early in college. I would say is a very big thing, because I will be running meetings and I still have someone come to a meeting and go, "Oh, could you please take notes?" And I'm like, "No, I'm the one running this meeting." So, yeah. So I would say learning how to stick up for yourself is probably the biggest thing, and stick with it. I would say it's difficult. Make some female friends. That really helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, sort of changing topics a bit, I feel the need to ask, Abby, I believe you are a first alumni yourself. So, sort
Proud.
of how
first alumni.
Love that. How has sort of your experience in first year at FRC, how did that sort of shape sort of who you've become now, would you say?
Yeah, I have to. It was an integral experience of my formative years, is what I'll say. Not only was it the first time that I was really exposed to STEM and was able to view STEM as a possible career path, but it also helps a lot with the interpersonal skills. It's the first time I was on a team with folks my age trying to solve a problem together. So it was really fantastic to make those personal connections, and to teach me that I could make those personal connections, and I can be successful, and I can build a robot, and I can do what I want, right? So that's all really fantastic, especially just because you don't see a lot of positive female role models in STEM, so you've got to be your own positive female role model in STEM, right? So that was really fantastic, and it helped me sort of break out of my shell, so that when I was able to go to college and start my career, I knew who I was, and I knew what I liked to do, and I knew that I could do it, and I knew I was going to be successful. So it was very important, and I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you two are now positive female role models in STEM. So
I'm gonna put that on the resume right there at the top.
Yeah, so sort of going sort of off of that, if you were able to talk to maybe your like college self, freshman year self, I don't know which version of yourself, but if you're able to go back and talk to yourself, give them some advice, what would you tell them?
Take more design classes. I wish that I had taken more SolidWorks classes because it's very useful for what I'm doing now.
I would tell myself that life is a journey and you can't get everything that you want right now. So, for example, I had my first major career setback, which is shocking because I've only been employed for like 3 years, right? So I had this job that I wanted, and I did everything that I possibly could in order to get this position. I mean everything. And like, I wrote to people, I called people, I was like, this is why I'm fantastic for this job. And they didn't give it to me. And I was really disappointed because I'd never had a career setback before. I'd never, really gone out of my way to try to make something happen, and then it just didn't happen. So that really shook me up. And what I realized is that life is a journey, and it's very long, and you have to learn to see the forest for the trees, right? I didn't get this job that I wanted so badly, but that's okay because I'm going to have a lot of disappointment in my life, and everything seems worse when it's the first time, right? So that's a recent example. So I just say, be realistic, do your best, and just keep swimming, right? Keep working for it. But if you don't get it today, that's okay, because there's always going to be a tomorrow.
I also want to add to that, though, don't be afraid to go for things. I mean, I recently applied to grad school, and I really was not going to because I didn't think I was going to get in. I mean, this school has less than 11% acceptance rate. So I was like, there's no way that I'm going to get in. Why would I even bother applying? And then I was, bored mostly. So I was like, you know what? I have nothing better to do tonight. It's COVID quarantine. Might as well apply to this grad school and see how it goes. And I actually was accepted. So thank you guys. So don't be afraid to go for it. I mean, you should be, take it with a grain of salt. Like Abby said, don't be upset if it doesn't work out for you, but don't let that be the reason that you don't do something. I think that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going off of grad school, that was sort of a great segue into my next question. What do you guys are thinking for like the future? Like you said, you applied to grad school, so like let's look down the line. What do you think your plans are?
So I actually am in the fall. I'm going to be going to Johns Hopkins for my biomedical engineering master's. So that's near future. Other than that, I'm going to be specializing in medical devices. So I'll definitely be doing something probably on the electrical side where I keep working with micro EM sensors. It's a really fascinating field. So if anyone has questions about it, I'm very into it. I know a lot now.
That's funny. So I myself am currently in grad school. I'm getting my master's in engineering management from my alma mater, the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. I'm like 2 classes away. I'm so close. So I chose this master's because it opens the door to a lot of possibilities. It's engineering management, so it's the management of engineers. And like I mentioned earlier, I've always been interested in sort of the softer side of engineering, the systems engineering, the working with people in the management. So I thought that getting this master's would allow me to potentially take a management track in the future if that's something I'm interested in. So right now we've got tons of work to do in the regulatory side, so I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon, but in the future sometime when I'm qualified to manage others.
That's like a great, I mean, just looking at the two masters that we're talking about here, I think it's really, I want to hammer home that industrial engineering just is incredibly diverse. I mean, Abby is on the management track and I'm like on the technical side, which definitely fits our personalities because I do not want to manage people. I have like a tech intern and a co-op, and that's more than enough for me. I'm like, please don't give me any more people. It's too much at this point. I'm just kidding. But, you know, I definitely enjoy the more technical side of things. And so I get to work with a lot of people, and they all bring really great different backgrounds to what we do, but it's very much a technical field versus, you know, more of what my boss does or what Abby does, where they just are managing people. And it's definitely the soft side. And it's same degree, two very different fields.
Exactly. Yes. Lots of opportunities.
Yeah. I think that's a good distinction to make between the soft side and the hard side, which I think you learn both in engineering. Sort of talk about past and future selves. So let's talk more about the present. Do you guys want to expand a bit more on like your day to day, what you do? Because I think engineering can be very mystifying and like, what does someone actually do when they're an engineer? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so it looks like we're coming to the end of our time, so I'll be really short. So my job, and I mentioned a little bit about this earlier, but it's really broken into it's the strategic and the technical aspects. So a lot of the tactical, not technical. A lot of the tactical day-to-day work that I do is, you know, communicating with our counterparts in the organization, making sure that we're pulling the correct types of data. We have a lot of reports that are required to be run on a monthly and quarterly basis, and you know, tracking the progress of those reports, making sure that they're where they should be, and just firefighting if something comes up, like we're having an issue over here. Okay, well, how are we going to solve that? And then the strategic aspect of my role, that's sort of where the systems engineering comes into place. It's okay, we have all of these requirements, right? What are the systems that we can put into place to best capture data and to export data so that we ensure fulsome reporting, right? Where can we find efficiencies in these systems? Who do we have to loop in? And just making sure that we are holistically reporting, you know, on a domestic and sometimes international level, all of the content that we should be, and making sure that it's consistent internationally. So that's a little bit about my tactical and then the strategic work.
So mine is very different from that. I also have a manufacturing line. So I come in and, you know, half of manufacturing engineering is just putting out fires. So I see, you know, what went wrong while I was gone, what needs to be fixed. It's a big part of it. Is my first couple hours every day is going, where can I fix this? Who can I train? And, you know, when you have very small parts with the very manual processes, you really have to make sure that everything is going well, because when you have an untrained operator work on something, it just kind of all falls apart. So I get to deal with that a little bit. And then the next portion of it is, how do I make this easier? How can I make it so you can make these parts without killing them constantly? So then we have a lot of design reviews and fixture reviews. And then we also have new parts that we're constantly doing. So I help bring on new products we're looking at them, and they'll come to us and go, how do we make this? And so we'll help design it. We'll help make the processes to actually make it. And then I'll take it and I go, okay, well, this is how we do it. You know, when it's two engineers building it, well, how do we actually have operators do this? And how do we have them do it, you know, on a small production scale? And so then we'll get through, you know, a few hundred builds, and we'll go, okay, well, now how do we make it so I can have an operator or operators do 10,000 a month of these? And so then we have to, again, take it and we make the processes so it can be super fast, it can be efficient, it can be easy, and it can be done on a large scale. So that's kind of my typical day. Lots of meetings.
Yeah. Well, I think we're running out of time, but thank you guys so much for coming to talk to us today. Thank you to everyone in the chat who watched, and thank you to our sponsor, Newport News Shipbuilding. We have a quick video, and we hope to see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.